If you're over 45 and you've noticed something has changed in your relationship, this might be the part no one warned you about. Most men think arguments are a bad sign. They think when the fighting stops, things are finally getting better. But in long-term relationships, especially after years together, the opposite is often true. When she stops arguing, she's not at peace. She's detaching. Let's break this down. In the early stages of a relationship, arguments happen because emotions are high. There's investment, there's passion, there's fear of losing each other. She argues because she cares enough to try to fix something. She raises her voice because she wants to be heard. She pushes back because she still believes the relationship can improve. But something shifts over time, especially in marriages that have gone on for years or relationships after divorce. A woman doesn't wake up one day and suddenly stop caring. It happens gradually. She tries explaining herself. She tries pointing out what's bothering her. She tries asking for change. And when nothing shifts, she starts adjusting internally instead. This is where most men misread the situation. When the complaints slow down, when the tension drops, when she becomes quiet. He thinks, finally, things are calm. But calm doesn't always mean safe. Sometimes calm means she has accepted that nothing will change. And acceptance is dangerous, because once a woman emotionally accepts that her needs won't be met, she begins the process of pulling away. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. She stops explaining herself. She stops arguing her point. She stops trying to convince you. And that silence feels peaceful at first. But what's really happening is emotional withdrawal. Think about this. When someone argues with you, they're still engaged. They still believe the conversation matters. When someone goes silent, they've decided the conversation isn't worth the energy. For many men over 50, this is the stage that leads to confusion. They'll say, "We don't fight anymore." But what they don't see is, she also doesn't share anymore. She doesn't open up. She doesn't react. Emotionally, she's already halfway out the door. And here's the part that's hard to hear. By the time she stops arguing, she's usually already been disappointed for a long time. This doesn't mean you're a bad man. It means somewhere along the way, she felt unheard or unseen long enough to give up trying. Now let's be clear. Not every quiet woman is leaving. Some personalities are naturally calm. But if there used to be emotion, and now there's indifference, that shift matters. Indifference is more dangerous than anger. Anger means she still cares. Indifference means she's detaching. And detachment rarely happens overnight. It's built through repeated moments where she felt dismissed, or where her concerns were minimized, or where she believed she had to handle things alone. Over time, a woman in that position begins to protect herself emotionally. She lowers expectations. She shares less. She argues less. And eventually, she stops arguing completely. For many divorced men, this pattern becomes clearer in hindsight. They look back and realize the fighting stopped months before the separation. The house felt calmer, but the connection was already gone. So what should you do if you sense this shift? First, don't panic. Silence doesn't mean it's irreversible, but it does mean you need awareness. Instead of enjoying the quiet, get curious about it. Ask open questions without defensiveness. Not, "Why are you acting distant?" But, "I've noticed you've been quieter lately. Is there something I'm missing?" Second, resist the urge to explain yourself immediately. Most men respond to conflict with logic. But emotional withdrawal isn't a logic problem. It's a feeling problem. She needs to feel understood before she hears solutions. Third, take responsibility for your part, even if it's small. Ownership rebuilds respect faster than defensiveness ever will. Now here's something important. At 45, 50, 60, relationships aren't about proving who's right. They're about preserving connection. When she stops arguing, it's often because she's tired of feeling unheard. And respect in long-term relationships doesn't disappear in one dramatic moment. It fades when emotional bids are ignored repeatedly. That's why the silence matters. It's not peaceful. It's protective. And if you ignore it, the next stage isn't loud conflict. It's emotional distance, then practical distance, then sometimes permanent distance. But here's the good news. Awareness changes outcomes. If you notice early enough and respond with maturity instead of ego, connection can be rebuilt. Respect can return. But only if you understand that silence isn't success. It's a signal. So if things feel too calm lately, don't celebrate too quickly. Look deeper, because when she stops arguing, it's rarely the beginning of peace. It's often the end of effort. And effort is what keeps long-term relationships alive. Pay attention to the silence. That's where the real story is happening.